My ultimate goal is that sanctuaries like mine don't need to exist because we shouldn't have to have places that have to rescue animals, big cats, from horrible situations. There just shouldn't be any horrible situations going on in this country.
Carole's known for appearances in the Netflix documentary Tiger King, but also as the founder of Big Cat Rescue, an organization that has been in operation since 1992. Carole, thank you again for being with us right now. You've been working really hard to help cats and to create a better life for them. Recently, you've been working, or maybe not so recently, the last couple of years, you've been working on legislation to help cats. Can you talk a little bit more about what that has been like?
Back in 1998, we figured out that we were never going to be able to rescue our way out of this situation. And the fastest way to stop the abuse of so many cats being bred and discarded would be through legislation. So by 2003, it takes multiple sessions of Congress to get a bill passed. But by 2003, we had gotten a bill passed called the Captive Wildlife Safety Act. And what that did was it made it illegal to sell big cats across state lines as pets. But there were some really huge loopholes in there. One was that people could still keep them as pets. And what happened with Joe Exotic and part of why he ended up in jail was he was caught selling these animals, whereas most of the time people would just say it was a donation. And so if they couldn't prove that any money had changed hands, then the government couldn't do anything. Whereas his people came forward and said, yeah, we actually we collected money for him and he took money for selling tigers. So what we've been doing since 2003 is trying to close that loop so that, one, it stops the cub petting, which is what drives all of that breeding and discarding, and two, it phases out private ownership. So people who have lions and tigers and other big cats can keep the ones they have. They just can't buy or breed more. So every 2 years, we introduce it into Congress. We push it forward as hard as we can. And this past year, we made better progress than we've ever made before. We actually had a vote on the full House floor, and we passed by a 2/3 vote in the House. But we did that on December the 3rd. And so there was no time to get it in front of the Senate for a full floor vote. And so what happened was the session ended on December 31st, which meant we had to start all over again in January. But this Monday, we reintroduced the bill in the House, and we're working to get it reintroduced in the Senate. And we'll just keep pushing for people to contact their members of Congress. They can do that at bigcatact.com and ask them to support the bill.
Is there opposition to what you're working on? Is there a reason why it's not getting pushed through fast enough? Is it a Democrat-Republican political division that's stopping you? Or is there pretty general support for what you're working on?
There is no longer any organized opposition to our bill. In the past, there were, if you think about the big zoos, they're accredited by the AZA, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And if you think about the next tier down, those zoos are accredited by something that they, I think, chose to make sound very similar. It's the ZAA, which is like Zoological Association of America. And they were allowing their member zoos to do the cub petting, whereas the big AZA zoos, they don't let people do cub petting at these big zoos. You can't go in and pay your $20 and pose with a tiger cub. And so these lower level ZAA people were opposing us up until the time that Tiger King came out. And when it showed what a horrible life it is for these cats and for the adults that are used for constantly breeding and pumping out these kittens, because usually in the wild, a tiger would only have kittens maybe once every 3 or 4 years. That's what her body's built for. And yet every 65 days, these people are dumping out a litter of kittens and breeding her right back again. And
gosh.
Yeah. So the ZAA succumbed to the pressure from people saying, that's not right, you shouldn't be doing that. And so all of their member zoos were told, you guys can't be accredited by us if you're going to do that. And so they are no longer organized opposition to us. So the only people who are opposing us are the people who are currently doing things like being indicted for wildlife trafficking, as Tiger King's Doc Antle was indicted and his children were indicted on wildlife trafficking and animal abuse charges. Tim Stark, who ended up losing his USDA license and having all of his animals seized. Jeff Lowe, who took over for Joe when he went to jail, he's now being sued by both PETA and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and USDA. And so we really expect that very soon that place will fold. And so there won't be any opposition to us. But, there's a little bit of Democratic versus Republican philosophies on that, because Republicans believe that it should be left up to the states, whereas Democrats feel like this is a federal issue, which it really is, because what happens is if you pass a ban, and we've been successful in doing this, passing bans in different states, then people just move to another state, and then they are constantly trafficking the cats across state lines, and so that's what makes it end up being a federal issue and why we need a federal law.
Well, with this legislation that you're pushing towards, if I understood correctly, it doesn't mean you have to, if you're a private owner, you don't have to get rid of your cats. You just can't get any more. So would this apply to you as well, that you could keep everything that you currently have, but you wouldn't be able to accept anymore, or would this not apply to your situation?
It wouldn't apply to, there are certain exceptions, like veterinarians are not held to this because they might have to, take in a cat during the time that they're taking care of it. Sanctuaries that do not buy, breed, sell, allow public contact, or take the animals off site, if they meet that criteria, then sanctuaries would still exist. But my ultimate goal is that sanctuaries like mine don't need to exist, because we shouldn't have to have places that have to rescue animals, big cats, from horrible situations. There just shouldn't be any horrible situations going on in this country.
So your dream world is to shut your business down because of there's not a need for it anymore.
That is my ultimate goal, so that I can actually get back to what I really wanted to do, which is protecting domestic cats and kittens from being killed in shelters due to overpopulation.
Yeah. With everything going on right now, can people go to your sanctuary currently?
Now, we closed our doors on March the 15th due to COVID-19, despite, well, you didn't see, but the way that we were portrayed in Tiger King is that there's these masses of people wandering around like they do at zoos, which is not the case. We have one day a year where we have 70 of our own volunteers come out, and then we do have 600 people that come out on that one day. But the way our tours operate is we have a guide who walks around with 20 people or less, and they tell the stories of the cats. And then at the end of the hour and a half of learning about how all of these cats came here from all of these horrible situations, we march them back into the gift shop, and we have them call their member of Congress right then and there while they are angry about it and have them support our federal bill. But you can't have 20 people in a closely
confined,
tightly packed group. Even though we're outside, you just have to keep everybody really close together, because these are dangerous animals and people could jump a fence and get hurt really easily. So we haven't been able to do our tours
since then. Yeah. Is there a way that people can interact with your cats or see them, or what's the because there's so many cool cats that you do have. Is there a way that people can go to your website and get involved, check them out there?
Yeah, I was when you said interact, we never touch the cats here. I don't touch the cats. My daughter doesn't touch the cats. Nobody actually puts their hands on the cats unless we're, doing something for a medical purpose now. But as far as the public goes, yes, we have, oh gosh, probably 15 or more live webcams around the property that people can tune in any time of day or night and see what's going on in the cat's world. And we're installing 46 more of those that will be running live, so you can go anywhere. When we're done, you can go just about anywhere and see what that cat is doing. We have 52 or 53 cats right now.
That's a lot of cats.
Yeah. And then every day we go live. So we'll have either me or Brittany, usually will walk around on Facebook and go live for an hour or so that people can see the cats and talk to the keepers about the cats. And then anytime we have any kind of a medical procedure going on in our on-site hospital, there's a camera right there in the hospital. There's another one in the x-ray room so that people can watch the entire surgery or whatever is going on there. We really pride ourselves on being transparent and bringing people into every aspect of what we do, because we feel like that's the way to get people to care about protecting wildlife. Our opponents will say, the people that do the cub petting say you have to let people touch the animals or they won't care about them. But there's no study at all that proves that touching a tiger causes people to support tiger conservation. In fact, they've done a few studies in primates that showed exactly the opposite was true.
Yeah.
So I think there are respectful ways that we can deal with the cats. And we're working on a lot of stuff right now that I'm so excited about in virtual reality and augmented reality, where you can put on a headset and all of a sudden you are just in that cat's environment. I can't get
That's
it on.
fascinating that you have that all set up.
Like right there.
Wow, that's really impressive. That's really cool. I didn't know that was a thing. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's really cool.
That's my ultimate goal for zoos is I think they could transform themselves into these huge entertainment industries where people would come in and you put on a headset and now you're in the Himalayas, they're blowing cold air on you and you're seeing snow leopards and they're doing all of their natural stuff that they're doing in the wild.
Without interfering
That's
with
gonna
them.
make people love the animals.